Hello and welcome, you guys, to another episode of Aren't You Exhausted? I am your big bag bitch host, Ashley, and it's been about 3 months since we've done a proper update on Miss Joannie Tew, also known as Autism Mom Life. So, without further ado, let's get on into it because there's a lot of heavy stuff to cover in a short amount of time. A quick little disclaimer before we move forward. The opinions and information shared in today's video are 100% subjective and reflect the personal views of moi. And I want to emphasize that any commentary offered is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. It is crucial to approach this content with a clear understanding that I do not promote or encourage any form of hostility or negative sentiment toward the individual featured in this video or her family. Please remember that behind every story are real people with real lives. Therefore, I ask you to refrain from seeking out or targeting the person discussed in this content in any manner that could be construed as hate, particularly directed toward her children. Such behavior is not condoned, nor does it align with the values of this channel. With that said, let's dive into today's topic and engage in a discussion that promotes understanding and reflection. Thanks for watching. The last time we caught up with Joannie, she was trying to include cash and activities that her other children would enjoy. And Joannie is she's a pretty big advocate for providing her autistic sons with all the experience that her regular children have. The downside of this very uplifting message is that Joannie does not have complete control over her nearly 6 foot tall, 200 plus pound teenage son. And it's also to be said that she can give him experiences without overloading his sensory to where he becomes overwhelmed. And then that anxiety and inability to regulate creates larger, more dangerous situations. As we have to look at this from an outside perspective, when someone in public sees a very large male beating on a female, especially in the South of all places, this could be met with people not asking questions before intervening and then possibly hurting Cash out of being unfamiliar with the dynamic Joannie and her family have with Cash, which I deem cater to Cash, which you will see why I phrased it like this later on. But it's been 3 months since we've last taken a look at what Joannie has been up to with her family, and let's start with the positives. About 2 months ago, Joannie was on a podcast. She was featured in a segment on the YouTube podcast Beyond the Science, a smaller podcast with under 200-ish subscribers where 3 hosts deep dive into the world of applied behavior analysis. Joannie's segment was discussing her journey and struggles as a content creator with 2 autistic high-need children. This actually seemed pretty productive, and I hope she goes on to do more developing of her own podcast to share this kind of information with a community of people. For those who aren't aware, Joannie does have her own podcast on YouTube where she intermingles her podcast episodes with her reposted TikTok content. Her YouTube channel, not as popular as her TikTok, has a little under 200 subscribers. I honestly don't see how she does it. From an outside perspective, this woman is spreading herself microscopically thin in order to run a home, and seemingly with very little help from her husband. In the clip I'm sharing here, Joannie is venting on how little sleep she's gotten due to Cash's sleep schedule of waking up at 3 a.m. and staying up until almost 6 a.m.
Stay up and have a cup of coffee or something. I really need like a 30-minute nap to get through today. So, yeah. This is usually how long it takes for him to go back to sleep. Like if he wakes up at 3, it takes till 5:30, 6 o'clock or later for him to go to sleep.
Struggling with the notion of having to essentially pull an all-nighter and then have to be present with the other children for the day as they will be waking soon. This also seems so very stressful, and why she really needs to work on getting some type of concrete schedule in order for her home to run effectively. because it's going to run regardless, but leaving the likelihood of something traumatic happening while she's sleep deprived and mentally unwell from like no breathing room. I know that Joni documents a lot of her everyday in the name of education on her TikTok channel, from live streaming and recorded content, even home monitor footage, leaving very little room for any kind of privacy for her children. It's not any wonder why Cash acts out when the camera is on and pointed at Joni. He's really unable to just walk out without supervision to leave the situation where the other children can freely get out of sight. In the clip I'm about to share, a viewer asks after a complete meltdown where Cash was coming after Joni and she shut herself into her bathroom to keep from getting hit while trying to de escalate the situation. Viewers were, of course, concerned with the safety of her other children in the home, as she has 6 other children living in that constant state of chaos.
Hello, user 795980. For your question, thank you. Okay. So the way our safe plan works, right, is the other children go into a safety room. Like, they go into their own rooms. We have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for all of us. So unfortunately, we don't necessarily have a place where just Cash can go de-escalate. Second on that, it is not safe for him to go and try and de-escalate these behaviors by himself. Okay, this is something he needs to be worked through. These behaviors need to be worked through by remaining calm, trying to figure out what is it that has caused this behavior, right? Giving him options of 2 things to replace whatever it is if we're not able to do what has got him flustered. All right, so for example, like if he wanted to go for a ride, we can't go for a ride right now. We can go jump on the trampoline, or we can go for a walk. Those are your 2 options. And so that's what we try to do. But even those options are not able to always be given in the midst of dysregulation, because you have to, in order to communicate effectively, you really need to de-escalate that behavior.
In that clip, Joni says that her other children have safety measures in place where if Cash gets aggressive, they know to go to their rooms and shut themselves in. And hearing this as a mother, my heart just breaks for those children, essentially living in a trauma response, wondering if this is going to be the time that Cash picks up something in frustration and harms Joni, whether this is just the time Cash finds Joni with her guard down and really hurts her. I know at heart she's a mother that just wants to see the best in her children, but this is disrupting a household for the well-being of one child. That is so unfair to the other siblings. All of their mother's time and attention spent on the older sibling. They never asked for this. They never asked for that. And they surely didn't ask for it all to be documented for the world to see.
Question, y'all. How many TVs have y'all gone through? I know we're not the only ones. No. So this is TV number 8 for us. So 8 TVs in 6 years, not too bad. We haven't had to replace a TV in 3 years. So I'm just curious.
Here we see Joni showing off another of Cash's destroyed electronics. He hasn't destroyed any in 3 years, but here's my demolished mounted TV. Can you relate? Joni, why after 3 years is he now back to destroying electronics? Seems like we are going backward instead of moving forward. And then you just try to downplay it by saying 8 destroyed TVs in 6 years isn't bad. I mean, yes, it is, Joni. That's 7 destroyed TVs in 3 years, as he had a 3-year respite. Why do we continue to give him access to things he destroys? Is this a version of iPad parenting that I was not familiar with? By constantly replacing it and giving him continued access, you're just instilling in him that there are no repercussions for his bad behaviors. In this next shared clip, Joni discusses her struggles with maintaining a clean home, or rather her inability to do so, over making sure her kids are safe and happy.
The problem comes in where, and I get so much hate for like the condition of my house, but when you're in a cycle or a season of trying to keep your child at home and, trying to, make sure that they're taken care of, the house comes second. So there you go. Elopement is a very real thing. It's very dangerous. It's not that it can be, it is. Especially when you're talking about your limited verbally children, your nonverbal children. And I can see now that the older a child gets, the more adult-like they look. It can be even more dangerous because of potential police encounters. Nothing against the police, but like if we were out and about somewhere and they were not familiar with him, they would just think that he was being stubborn or not listening and not following directions, and he could get tased or shot or any number of things. So again, that's why I try to bring awareness to what autism can look like. It does not look like this for everybody. I know that. But this is what it looks like for us. Yeah. We've had a lot of really good points today. We haven't had any physical aggression today, which is amazing. But that doesn't mean the day isn't still hard.
She claims a lot of her day is spent making sure that the kids are taken care of and keeping Cash from running off, stating how she basically has to act as a guard because Cash deals with elopement. For those unfamiliar with this term in a medical setting, I hadn't heard of this word specifically, so I went and looked it up, educated myself. And elopement essentially is when someone is incapable of protecting themselves or having the wherewithal to know better and departs from places unsupervised and sometimes undetected. Um, Essentially, he will just wander off if the feeling strikes him, and she's gotten quite emotional in this clip, realizing the dangers that Cash could face with or without her present outside of her home. I only question, why does it seem like she's fighting this alone? Where is her support system? Where is her family? Where is her community? Why isn't her husband sharing and supporting more than monetarily? She makes it seem like she's taken all of this on her own. Get help, Joni. Ask for help. You can't do this on your own. Obviously, we see her mental health is kind of declining with this day in and day out of her life. It's taking a toll on her. And in these moments, I want to feel bad for her. I want to feel empathy. I want to feel for her. But then I know she elicits these behaviors out of Cash for gain on social media. And that kind of snaps me back into reality that she's just trying to cash in, no pun intended, on her half-assed parenting. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyhow, that's really the end of this update on Autism Mom Life. And if you're into Joni lore and you're wondering, Ashley, why haven't you brought up any of the really shocking talking points of interest that have been buzzing on TikTok here recently? And it's simply because it has no hard evidence. There's no evidence of it. There are no hard receipts of it. It's just people speculating based on behavior, and these type of speculations could be dangerous, especially when dealing with children that already get so much hate fueled toward them from the internet. At the end of the day, these are children, and if you felt that strongly enough that these things people are saying took place, then you report it. And these people aren't. They are just adding to the fire on social media for a puff piece for views. And that about wraps it up for me. Thanks for watching. And if you liked this video or any of my content posted on this channel, if you would be so kind to please like, share, or leave a comment down below to keep this channel growing, it is much appreciated. Thank you and goodbye.